Hey, welcome in. Episode 6 of Don't Spill the Mixie podcast alongside my co host, Matt Vieneman. I'm Mark Redford. Matt, what are we drinking tonight?
Hey, Big Red, episode 6. We're making it. What we're drinking tonight, a little ode to my boy Aaron Gates, AG. Ran into him at the draft a couple weeks ago and was making a mixie tonight. And you know what he always goes with? Vodka Sprite.
A little vodka Sprite.
So a little
Vodka
vodka
Sprite.
Sprite. And
Vodka Sprite.
before we cheers to episode 6, Big Red, I'm going to go a little off the cuff here. And it is Mother's Day. By the time we're recording this, it's Mother's Day in the evening. So it'll be the day after. But just want to give a shout out to all the moms and mothers out there, grandmothers. Just want to say appreciate all you do. Raising kids in a family and that kind of stuff is not easy. So just wanted to tip the cap to all our mothers out there and just tell them how much we love them and appreciate them before we get the episode kicked off. So appreciate it. And what are you drinking? What do you have in your cup tonight, Big Red?
Mountains are blue over here. Mountains are blue, so a little icy cold silver bullet Coors Light. So, yeah, well said about moms. I love my wife, who's a mother now.
Mm-hmm.
My mom wouldn't be here without her. No idea where I'd be without her. Moms are insane. It's been cool seeing my wife become a mother and everything she does now. It's pretty nuts. So, cheers, episode 6 to moms and to episode 6. Let's get after it.
Let's do it.
So we got a full-fledged episode here for you. Last night was WWE Backlash 2025 edition.
Mm-hmm.
So we'll recap that. I would say real quick, we both would probably give it B grade overall.
Yeah, B minus. It's a little lackluster after WrestleMania.
Yeah. Neither one of us were really blown away, but it was all right. It was entertaining. It was worth watching. We're gonna talk some puck for the first time, a little puck.
Mm-hmm.
Talk some NHL playoffs. You've been watching that. I've been following it kind of from afar. So we'll rehash where everything's at with that. NBA playoffs obviously still going on, so we'll rehash some of that stuff, dive into that. We've had very mixed results with our predictions from the last show, so we'll spin that back around. And then news broke, I think Monday of last week or Tuesdays, very early of last week, about Michigan football. And obviously with a block M hanging belovedly over my head,
Mm-hmm.
if you're watching on video, go blue. I've got some takes on that one. I don't even know. We'll hash that out once we get there, but we'll finish the show with that. Got a lot of opinions on that and gonna get a little bit off the cuff there. So, but we'll start with Backlash. We'll go chronological order, which I kind of ironically, I think we start from the top of the feature and then kind of level out pretty quickly from there.
Mm-hmm.
So first fight of the night, Jacob Fatu defeats LA Knight, Damian Priest, and Drew McIntyre to retain the U.S. Championship. So this one was a fatal four-way. So I actually missed this one live, to be honest with you, so I watched some recap stuff to catch up on it because I didn't realize that it started as early as it did. So I caught this one after the fact. Really good back and forth action. I thought this was fun, exciting. Got outside the ring, got some pretty high flying stuff, especially given the fact that all four of these guys are big dudes. I was not expecting high flying table action, but we got some, which was pretty sweet.
Yeah, this is hands down the best match of the card for last night. So, kind of expected Fatu to hold on. Kind of expected some sort of the bloodline to come back, and Solo Sikoa came back, and I can't remember the guy he brought back with him, but apparently it's someone that Fatu wrestled with in the indie circuit. So that was his WWE debut, and him coming out to say I think he's in a challenge for that belt next. But man, Damian Priest is just on another level. I don't think they feature him enough. For being as big as he is and as high of a flyer as he is, I don't know, just very underrated. I love LA Knight. Yeah. Can't go against LA Knight. I was kind of hoping he was going to win. And then you had the off the cuff stuff that we kind of talked about before we jumped on between Damian Priest and Drew McIntyre, for some bad blood between them that McIntyre ended up getting legitimately hurt afterwards. Completely missed the table, and I think he busted his head after he hit the table on the outside. But yeah, it was just a great match. And I was kind of excited for the rest of the card after that had started, but it was just all downhill from there. I was excited for the last match, but we'll get into that here in a little bit, and that kind of fell a little flat. But yeah, I think it was a great way to start off. I think the link you sent me from the Yahoo, whoever wrote that graded that one an A+, so they were in agreement with that was going to be the best match of the night. So yeah, it was a great way to kick it off, and just a little lackluster after that.
Yeah, I agree. I think, like you said, Damian Priest doesn't get featured enough. The more I watch him, the more he grows on me. His moveset is fun. Even though he's huge, he does get way up. He goes top rope a bunch. He does some pretty wild and exotic stuff. Not stuff that you would expect from a guy his size and shape. Um, I don't, what's your stance on Fatu?
I don't know, man. He's part of the bloodline. I think he has a pretty cool entrance, but outside of that, I think he's going to be a flash in the pan. Unfortunately, I hate to
Just
say
the
that about anybody, but I just think it's. You go back and you look over the course of how long you've been watching it. How many of these guys have come out like that and actually stayed around for a legitimate period of time?
Yeah, I mean, to me, he just blends in. Like, I don't mean this in any sort of derogatory way, but like, he just blends in with so many other very similar type characters,
Hmm.
like Samoa Joe, Solo Sikoa. Like, there's just so many of these guys that have looked very similar. R.I.P. Bray Wyatt. Like, just these big, round, rotund guys that all kind of do the same shtick. Like it's just these like they kind of look like Donkey Kong in the ring. Like it's
Yeah,
just like these guys that are just big round and they just like all they do is just try to run at you really fast and that's their move set.
exactly. Speaking of Donkey Kong, quick side note: I did find my old Super Nintendo in the attic with Donkey Kong 1, 2, and 3. That's definitely getting played at some point this week. Just as its side note, so I'll see how much Fatu reminds me of him once I boot up the old Super Nintendo. But yeah, I would agree. I would say probably in a couple months he'll be down with NXT, or he'll be down in AEW since they have that merger. Um, I think there is a spot for him in some sort of wrestling. I just don't think on Monday Night Raw or SmackDown is going to be his niche.
Yep, I would agree. I just don't see him having enough personality either to have staying power. So I don't
And
know.
I think there
Doesn't do it
are,
for me.
yeah, and I agree with you. I think they're already foreshadowing that by bringing Solo Sikoa and whoever this other guy is back in and trying to reform the bloodline or some sort of that to help him, because he just can't carry a viewership and can't carry the crowd by himself. So he needs that. And they're doing him a favor. They're helping him out. They're throwing a couple other people in there and making him part of a group is what he's going to need, and that's going to be his wheelhouse. I don't think he's going to make it very far just as a solo.
No, and just I don't know, the whole bloodline thing is wearing on me. I don't have any energy or stamina for it. Like you can't
Yeah,
have 12 of these guys that are all part of the bloodline because you've got 2 hours on Raw on Monday night, you've got 2 hours on Friday with SmackDown, and then you've got 3 hours with a pay-per-view. I mean, you could go longer, I guess, with a pay-per-view if you wanted it on Peacock or whatever, but they're not going to. So it's just these guys that all come from the same. Like you got The Rock that makes appearances. You got Roman Reigns that's always going to be a feature. I mean, he's literally one of the top three guys that they're going to feature constantly. Then you got Fatu. You got Solo Sikoa. You got uh, Jimmy and Jay. You got who am I forgetting? Um, I feel like
yeah,
there's another one or two that I'm like. There's
yeah.
just not
But
enough time.
yeah, and they make an appearance here and there if they need to come in and ruin a match or come in and get somebody's back. But they're not a full time on the roster.
No, yeah, there's just not enough time to give them legitimate airtime. So overall, going back and watching that one, I thought it was a really fun one. And then, like you said, it kind of took a nosedive from there, and then plateaued at meh is how I would say the rest of the night went from there.
Yeah, the rest of the night took a nosedive like Drew McIntyre did on the other side of that table, unfortunately. But
Just
hopefully, all jokes aside, hopefully he's okay because if for as fake as wrestling is or what everybody wants to say it is, it's still going through tables and hitting your head on cement and that kind of stuff is that you can't fake that. So
yeah, I mean, say what you want, but it looks like he had pretty legitimate whiplash, and like doing the move that they did. I don't know how you wouldn't. So hopefully he's all right. Hopefully he's back because he's getting more and more fun all the time too. I mean, the fact that they had like 500 pounds, 10 feet up in the air, 12 feet up in the air, whatever it was, doing a choke slam through tables or whatever. Pretty fun stuff. So
hmm
we like seeing that stuff. That's the entertaining stuff. So next up on the card, Lyra Valkyria defeated Becky Lynch to retain the Women's Intercontinental. I, I don't have any.
yeah, the my
Becky
ve-
Lynch is your girl.
yeah the man my vested interest in that was only because I would have liked to see Becky as more of a mainstay on the roster. Like maybe not every Monday Night Raw, but at least two or three a month. Um, so I was kind of hoping she was going to win because then if she every time she's had the title, she's been present. She's been at every single Raw. Um, so by her not winning it, just is a foreshadowing that she's not going to be around consistently, which is unfortunate. I think she's good for the women's division, but gotta give it to Lyra Valkyria. She's legit. And then they had the whole we're both from Ireland, we're both billed from Dublin, so they had that story. So now they can kind of put that to the wayside. But yeah, good match. But I was hoping that Becky would have pulled that one off. Unfortunately,
Yeah, it feels like Becky's gonna go back into the shadows for a while now, even though she just came back for the first time in a long time. And like, if they wanted her to be in the mix, I feel like this would have been it. So unless it's some longer, deeper, significantly deeper storyline, I feel like we're not gonna get a whole lot more there. So next up on the list, Dominic Mysterio beat Penta to retain the Intercontinental.
yeah,
I think the Yahoo grade on this one would have been higher. I had a lot of juice on this one to start out with, and then it just didn't land.
yeah. I just don't like. Eventually, they got to run this Judgment Day storyline out, right? I mean, I think when Dirty Dom entered and the seal on the back and his logo said Judgment Day established 2022. So that's been going on 3+ years of the Judgment Day. And it's the same thing every single time. I don't know. That storyline's way overrun. I thought for sure WrestleMania by Finn Balor losing in that it's either triple threat or fatal four way with Braun Breaker and Dom winning the title would have started to separate the whole Judgment Day. I think they're still kind of teeing that up. I just think the Judgment Day is overplayed, especially with Carlito. They have him come in and do a bunch of stuff. He doesn't even really wrestle anymore. I loved Carlito back in the day when he would chew on the apple and spit in somebody's face, and he'd be like, "I spit in the face of those that are not cool." That was kind of cool. I like that for like 6 weeks. That's fine. But now it's 6 years later, 10 years later, it's like, yeah, it's not as interesting anymore. And then he just comes in and ruined at the end of what was a really good match. But I think eventually Penta's going to take that title at some point. He's just
I
too good.
can't.
Too good.
I want to get your thoughts on this. This drives me nuts in general about the WWE. I hate when these groupings of characters, the titles of the group stay the same, but the cast of characters changes.
Yeah.
Like to me, Judgment Day isn't these three guys. Like it's not. Judgment Day started with a totally different cast of characters. Like wasn't Seth Rollins originally part of Judgment Day?
No,
Or
it originally started with Edge.
yeah, see, that's way
It
too
was
long
it
then.
was Edge and Damian Priest and Mommy. Those were like the original three, and Finn Balor. Those were the original four. And then
Yeah,
they
and then
brought
so the
in
only one
like
still is Finn.
Finn. Yep. They brought in JD McDonough. They brought in Raquel. They brought in Liv Morgan, Dirty Dom, and it's a whole different cast. The only one that's been consistent is Finn. But yeah, that goes all the way back to when Edge was still part of the WWE before he left for AEW.
Does Does that bother you? Like, it's so annoying. Like, come up with a different shtick. Like, come up with a different team name or however you want to describe it. But just like for me, I can't. I have a hard time wrapping my head around the fact that like we're gonna call this group Judgment Day when other people were Judgment Day, but they also still might be around. Like, I don't know. That stuff just annoys the crap out of me when these long-standing groups. It's like if they brought the Shield back, but it wasn't Seth Rollins and Dean Ambrose and Roman Reigns. Like that's not the Shield. Just like this isn't the Judgment Day. Like it's
Yeah,
over. It's done. Let it be.
yeah, yeah. I agree. I think the Judgment Day is way overdone. I don't think a stable has been had this much longevity. I don't. The NWO wasn't around that long. I don't think. DX. Um, Even that one with when Randy Orton first came in with Batista, uh, it was Ric Flair was the head of it, Triple H, Randy Orton, and Batista. That one was sick.
That is a wild group. Like that's before my time of when I started caring about WWE, but it's a wild group.
Oh yeah, yeah. And it was young Randy Orton when he first got into the business, and Batista. And then it was up and coming Triple H with Ric Flair, who was already at his peak and on his way back down, leading that whole thing. That was probably my favorite one. That and DX. I love DX. I actually listened to the DX entrance theme on the way to volleyball today. But
So this going back to the actual match at hand, Mysterio beating Penta. I was kind of let down by this one because these guys are both really high flyers. I like seeing both of these guys. I was pretty excited for this one. And the action for most of it was decent. The ending just sucked. Like it was just way too quick. It felt too abrupt and there was no energy when the clinching move happened. And like nobody really got into their finishing moves. Like there was
yeah,
a couple sweet high flying sequences and then it just all of a sudden as quick as it started it was over.
yeah, and I think we have skipped that whole El Grande Americano, that whole Chad Gable storyline
Yep.
jumped in here when Penta was going to end it from the top rope, and he jumped in and hit him with the metal piece in his mask, and that allowed Dom to get on the top rope and hit the frog splash. So I don't know. The whole Judgment Day storyline with Grande Americano, I was like, I felt bad for Penta. He deserved better than that, than those gimmicks and all that kind of stuff. But his day will come. He's legit.
Yep, I agree. I agree. Next up on the list was this was kind of an interesting one. Gunther defeats Pat McAfee for nothing. Revenge, I guess.
Yeah, one of the best parts of that match is what we were talking about before, when Pat McAfee came down his entrance, and they had the three stats, and it said he had won 7 of 8 matches, won 3 of his last 4 matches, and the very bottom stat was played one professional football game in St. Louis.
Like the
That
only thing
was
you and I
his.
can think of is that they just ran out of stuff to say on the
Uh,
graphic. Like that's all they had.
yeah, and most people probably won't even remember that the last time St. Louis had a team was the Rams, and it was probably he didn't. And like you said, they didn't put a stat that he punted, because they probably played against the greatest show on turf with Kurt Warner and those guys and didn't even get a chance to punt. But I just thought that was his best graphic on the third. They could have said like host of the Pat McAfee show on ESPN or something.
Aaron Rodgers' best friend, like
Yeah,
anything.
yeah, AR's best friend. But they just played one professional football game. But I don't know. The match was a little bit like, do you really need to have this as a filler match? Like McAfee did okay, and I give him a lot of credit. It can't be that easy to go from not wrestling at all, even going through the motions, to wrestle. So they gave him the basic things to do, right? The chops and his punt move, and try to get him in a sleeper and kick him in the back and like do that whole thing. Um, it
You could
was
tell you could tell they really leaned on the chops. Like that Yahoo has the match time at 14:02. 7 minutes of that was probably like chop
I was
related.
gonna say 7, or at least, yeah, between 7 and 10 was chops,
Like
and
it,
it was
like you
just,
could tell, and I give him credit because he stood there, and those guys, like I think, were legitimately swinging at each other. And granted, it's just slaps, so I'm not gonna try and say that they were taking like punches to the face, but both of their chests were blood red by the time it was done.
oh yeah. And then he was outside of the ring and tried to jump over the ropes, and his right foot got caught at the last second. And he kind of tumbled back in to the ring, and Michael Cole was like, "Oh, little ring rust, little ring rust." That's what happens when you. That's what happens when you're not wrestling consistently.
One thing I haven't seen anybody talk about this. One thing I want to give credit to is Gunther being willing to go in with somebody of that lack of experience. Because I feel like outside looking in, somebody that doesn't have experience to do the moves correctly, like that's a pretty decent chance for injury if you do anything significant. Because they're not going to be as skilled to be able to do maneuvers and be able to move their body correctly. So he's playing the lead in most of those sequences and really trusting that McAfee's going to go where he needs to go and fall and tumble the way that they need to in order to actually maintain any level of safety.
Mm-hmm.
And like I give him credit for being willing to do that. Obviously, it's part of what he signs up for. So, um, but to your point too, like give McAfee a lot of credit for going in there and making something look halfway decent. Like that's not what he's doing on a regular basis. You could tell he put a decent amount of time to be prepped and be able to hang in there for a while. Both of them were dripping with sweat by the time they were done. So
Oh yeah,
I thought it was fine. I didn't think it was anything spectacular. So
no, 14 minutes was way too long. It was a
yeah,
little.
the fact that this went 5 more minutes than the Dom and Penta fight, like we couldn't have flipped that around.
Yeah, it's at about 7 minutes. It got to be a little like, all right, this is the crowd wasn't into it. They kept trying to get him into it. Like, if you're gonna have a match that long, you better have a solid match and have the crowd like have it doing some cheers and like getting behind them, because otherwise it's just slow, not even methodical, quiet, no energy. I don't know. But,
Well, the other thing too that I will say about this match that I think brought it down, like it didn't get off to a high flying start because one, neither of these guys are high flying, and neither one of these guys is honestly like that exciting. McAfee because he doesn't have a move set, and Gunther because he's just ground and pound. That's just the way that he operates. He's not a high flyer at all, and I don't think his ring style is really that exciting, even up against somebody more experienced. But their intro music for both of them, like Gunther's isn't that exciting in my opinion, and nobody knows what McAfee's really is to get excited about it. So I thought that wasn't the greatest way to start things out. Like there wasn't really any juice to begin with. They were really trying to get that going right out of the gate. Like McAfee was trying to like pump the crowd up with like raise the roof or whatever type of vibe, and
mm-hmm.
it just didn't quite have as much juice as what they wanted it to. So overall, I think B minus even feels a little bit generous. I thought it was okay.
Yeah,
C plus.
yeah, I would agree with you there.
And then that rolled into the finale of the night. Cena defeated Randy Orton. This one went almost 30 minutes. Obviously, it was the main showcase. The real reason for tuning in because these guys are fighting for the undisputed WWE Championship, which is a newly created thing of like the who's the best of the best type of thing. B plus on Yahoo, I think feels a little bit generous.
Definitely.
What do you think?
Yeah, definitely. Uh, I I was expecting a lot more. Obviously, when these guys were in their heyday, they were significantly younger, so you can't really expect the same match. Although being there and witnessing all those matches when they were younger, you're replaying that in your head, and that's what your expectations are. It was okay. Randy Orton went to go line up for the punt, and then I don't know how R-Truth got into all this. I don't know what
He just came out of
his
nowhere.
I don't know what his storyline is, what his ties are to either one of these guys. Like I don't remember him being part of any of their storylines, but it was awkward. I don't know if you saw the press conference afterwards where Triple H was talking and Cena came up and like whispered something to him, and then he sat down and he started having like some retrospect and being like, "Hey, you know what? I haven't been handling myself properly the last couple months. Like I don't want to go out like this. I've always declined to talk to the press after or talk to reporters after. I'm gonna field questions. and he had a little bit of remorse in his voice. But then R-Truth came out and said, "Oh, like that was so good. I'm glad you won." And then he's like, "Ron," he said, "if you say one more word, this is gonna end badly." And he said something, and then he gave him an AA through the table and then walked away. So I don't know what that whole storyline is gonna develop into or whatnot. But yeah, kind of figured they were gonna keep letting Cena have the title. Um, Randy had 14. There was no way he was going to be, before he hangs it up, that he was going to be able to get to 17 or 18 to eclipse it. So I guess in that regard, it was kind of a unique storyline. If he can get to 15, maybe he sticks around for a little bit. I would have thought they would have had a different legend come out and do what R-Truth did. Like I'm a huge Batista fan, so I was kind of hoping Batista would come out and do something, and then Batista would be the next one to challenge, and they could do that. That would be a great storyline. Keep having all these legends come out and challenge Cena for the title, and don't let him walk away with it. But it was an okay match. I think B plus is a little generous. I would give it C plus, C. It's average.
Yeah, I would agree. Couple individualized thoughts here. First of all, intro music for both of these guys is two of the most iconic. I posted this on X. The intros for these two guys, in terms of intro music, these are absolute A-list intro songs. Like the excitement level until Cena did his heel shtick, like the excitement level when his song first started playing, coming right off of Orton's, was electric. And then,
Oh yeah, I hear voices.
yep,
Can't go wrong with that,
everybody
man.
was singing, and then Cena's always gets everybody going with the Cena sucks.
Yeah.
So like the place was absolutely rocking until he did his little shtick about like I hate the world or whatever. So I thought that was cool. I think that's somewhat unique for these two guys. I don't know. You'd be hard pressed to find somebody else that has an intro song as good as these two, in my opinion, to get people really rocking. So I thought that was cool. The other
Yeah,
immediate thought I had, no, go ahead.
the only two that I would say would rival that or exceed it would be when Stone Cold, when the glass breaks, and then when Stone Cold and The Rock had. So you have Stone Cold come out to the glass breaking, and then you have The Rock come out to "If You Smell What the Rock is Cooking," and then his music would hit. Man, those were I just got chills right there, and I didn't even nail it.
You could always put the Undertaker in there too. That's the other one.
Oh yeah,
Like,
when the lights go down, you hear the
yeah, you could.
dong.
Like,
Yep.
there's probably I'm not giving it enough credit, but there's probably five or so that you could say have stick in terms of that, but not very many. Like these are two elite intro, like get the whole place rocking vibes that
Yep.
everybody loves.
Mm-hmm.
Or or in Cena's case, like he's always had a like pretty good balance of people that like him, love him, and hate him. So even before he did the whole heel thing, so I had that thought as the match first started. I was like, man, this is as good as it gets to start off. I thought that was cool.
Yep.
And then the other thing, WWE's got to like we've had two of these in the last month and a half. We've got to quit with these low blow finishers. Like let these guys finish with huge finishing. Like these guys have two of the greatest, most all-time finishing moves, the RKO and the AA. Like, let these guys hash it out and finish it that way, or keep putting them through tables, get people up on the top rope, even though Orton and Cena don't really do that anymore. Like, just let these guys legitimately finish it in the ring. This whole low blow thing that, uh, what's his name? Why am I blanking?
Heyman.
Paul Heyman, yeah, does it during WrestleMania. And then Cena does it here as the finisher to put this one away when the ref was down. Like this stuff, like just let these guys actually finish. Let them do finishing moves. That's what everybody actually wants to see. the low blow thing, I guess, kind of plays into the heel and the whole
Yeah, I was
shtick
gonna
that they're
say.
going for.
Yep. That's the only reason why they did it. The low blow and then hit him over the head with the belt, and then as the ref starts to wake up, counts him for the 1, 2, 3. Yeah. Yep. Yeah. That, like I said, I think they only did that to stick with the whole heel storyline.
That's the only
But
thing I can think of too.
yeah.
Um, I don't know if you caught it live. I immediately caught it live because it was kind of obvious. I thought Cena missed the announcer table, and I think caught legitimate pain in the middle of his back because Orton threw him too far, and like the middle of his back caught the edge of the table instead of landing square in the table, and the table
Oh
didn't
man.
collapse. So, and at the very end, you could see a giant bruise forming in the middle of his back from where his back hit the edge of the table instead of the middle of the table to have it break. Because like that was the first time at least in a long time that I can remember that the announcer table didn't break when it was supposed to. And then
Oh
Orton
yeah.
after the fact like tried to kick it over and it still didn't go down. And I was like, yeah, that was not according to plan whatsoever.
No.
So Cena was in legit pain.
Oh yeah. They whoever put that table together is not going to have a job today, probably. They did not set it to break at the right time.
Yeah, no chance. So I thought that was funny. Just kind of a couple snafus with people going through tables. Be interesting to see how many tables get busted out in the next pay per view, or if they scale that back a little bit with McIntyre getting banged up, and Cena's going to have some gripes either with Orton directly for throwing him too far, or with whoever put the table together for not having it break.
Yep.
So I thought that was interesting. And then the only other noteworthy thing, like you said, this whole R-Truth thing, which is kind of weird. Cena ended up putting him through the table at the end in the presser, so obviously that's going to be a little bit of a storyline going forward. I don't really envision R-Truth getting a whole lot into the mix in terms of getting into the ring. That doesn't really seem like that's got hardly any juice,
No.
at least for me.
No, he may. His storylines are so odd. He'll probably keep popping up in the Cena storyline whenever somebody tries to come in and do a massive finishing move like the punt or a stomp or something to end his career. They may have R-Truth come in there and do the same thing he does, stop him. But other than that, I don't think R-Truth is going to be fighting for the championship or doing any of that. So
He doesn't have like that. He doesn't factor into anything. Like he's just not. He's not enough of a needle mover.
no.
And like you're going on like the victory tour of the late '90s, early 2000s biggest names. Like you're playing the Beatles right now, basically. If you were like to compare it to music, like you're playing the greatest hits of all time, and you're pulling back the one more big match. Like in my, we can take this down a weird storyline. We didn't really talk about going down this way, but I think the way this whole Cena thing is going to go, I think the end all be all, in my opinion, the only way I see this actually finishing is a Cena versus The Rock 1v1 for the actual belt. That's the way that I see that going because The
Uh,
Rock has such a big ego and he's going to want to factor into it. So they're going to fight. I don't like would you agree do you disagree there?
I don't disagree necessarily. I was thinking more along the lines of Triple H
Ooh, that's a good one too.
because Triple H is still in great shape and
Both?
yeah. I mean, if you're going down the Legends thing, I mean, Triple H is the one writing these storylines. Why wouldn't he
You
just
can you can tell he's writing it too because it's all of his former head-to-head clashes
yeah,
too.
why
Like
would you it's I think it's only teeing up that eventually it's going to be either him or the final boss or both. I don't think The Rock really wants to get back in the ring to be honest. I think Triple H would. I
well,
think
it hasn't been that long since Triple H was in the ring. Like I don't think it was for very long, but it was maybe a couple years ago. Not that long.
yeah, I just think it's setting it up for Triple H. Like, I think he's going to come out and call Cena out for being a heel and say you're not doing it the right way. And Cena's going to go after him. And then he's going to be like, all right, well, I'm going to have to end this myself. And then come in and take the belt.
Maybe that's what this whole R-Truth thing is with Triple H being at the podium for the interview thing at the same time.
Yeah, and
And like maybe
Cena might have tried to show him up by saying, "Let me take this."
maybe Triple H comes out even tomorrow at Raw and does some shtick or something. I don't know.
Yeah, but I agree with it. I think it's teeing up for a bigger Legends match at some point, whether it's The Rock or Triple H, or who knows if the Undertaker would ever get back in the ring or something like that. I know there were rumors that the McAfee thing he wasn't supposed to fight, and that it was supposed to be a retirement match for Goldberg. But Goldberg
I did
wasn't.
see
But
Goldberg trending for a little bit over the
yeah,
weekend.
but Goldberg wasn't cleared in time, so McAfee actually had to get in there and do his thing.
He's still in really good shape too. I mean, he was super jacked. It was a while ago now, but super jacked when he played whatever his name was in Longest Yard. And I would think he's still in pretty good shape. He seems like one of those guys that's just going to keep lifting, like Hulk Hogan type of thing.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that's where we're going is more of these giant clashes. I think my opinion somehow this whole thing lands. They've got to pivot it back to Roman Reigns somewhere and Cody because those are your present day stars, and you got to pivot it back to those two guys. And I don't know how they move. Obviously, those two guys aren't going to factor into this like all time great, whatever this new belt is. The undisputed WWE Championship. I think they're going to have to rework the titles.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's going to happen. I think Triple H is going to rewrite the titles for some of this stuff and unite a couple of the belts and maybe make fewer belts. I don't know what your thoughts are there, but I kind of see it playing out that way because they've got to eventually. It's like the sun has to set on Cena. This isn't going to just keep going, and he's been the biggest thing for the last 5 or 6 months now. So eventually, it's gotta pivot and like somewhat fairly quickly. Like we're already halfway through the year.
Yep. Yep.
So it'll be interesting to see how they put a bow on the whole thing. I don't envision it going like it. Nobody's gonna like how it ends, in my opinion. I don't know if you have any thoughts on that. Like it's the same way as like nobody really likes the way a show ever ends because it's the end of something that you really enjoyed, and like
Yep.
his fans are not gonna like the way that it ends because it's over and depending on how it plays out, if he ends up keeping some sort of belt into retirement, the people that don't like him won't like it that way. So I just don't like it's not gonna you can't land this stuff well. I just don't think there's a good way to go out and exit it, in my opinion.
Yeah. I think it's we were talking about before we jumped on to your take on Randy Orton. This might be his kind of swan song type thing. And I think the whole storyline was Cena and taking the belt and ushering in the new regime, the new generation with a new belt and a new title. I think you're not only going to see Cena hanging it up at the end, but you'll probably see Randy Orton, and you'll probably see a few of these other guys that wrestle here and there that are part of that generation. Probably will all hang it up at the end of this year, and I think that's kind of what this whole storyline is eventually teeing up.
Yeah, I think it's the sunsetting of the guys that were super popular when we were kids.
Yep.
It's exactly what this all is. So, going to be an interesting next 5.5 or 6.5 months here as they finish out the calendar year. Next, obviously, I think next big ticket one, SummerSlam. There's another pay per view
Uh,
between now and then, I know, but
yeah, I think Money in the Bank.
okay.
I think Money in the Bank is. I think they're every like 6 weeks, and then I think SummerSlam is in late June, early July.
So I think Money in the Bank pivots back to current talent, modern day talent, so to speak, away from the whole Cena storyline because there's no reason for Money in the Bank to have anything associated with Cena. So I think that whole thing, I think they take a break with it, and then I'm guessing he probably will have another big match at SummerSlam.
Unless they have one or two of the legends enter Money in the Bank and win it, and then they challenge Cena.
Yeah, I guess you could do that.
That's the only thing. Yep. Other than that, I agree with you. But unless they do it that way,
Do you, yeah, maybe that is how it goes because like if you give Money in the Bank to one of the younger guys, there's no juice behind any of the other current titles right now.
yeah.
So Because Cody lost the one that he has that's now recreated for Cena, so he doesn't have a title anymore, and Roman doesn't have a title anymore. So again, they got to rework things. I'm interested to see how Triple H hashes it all out. It's going to be very, very intriguing.
Yep.
Um, I think it's just going to be a wild 6.5 months here to see how the way that they write it. This part's always fun to me. I like watching and analyzing the script. It's fun.
Mm-hmm.
Next up, let's pivot over to the ice. We'll breeze through some of this stuff, but you've been watching some puck, watching a
I
little bit of
have
hockey.
been. It's
Playoff
been
hockey's
very good.
electric.
It's been very good. Very surprising.
We've got some really good series going on too. The only thing I'll say with hockey is they do a very poor job of marketing some of their biggest stars, and I can't stand the fact that Connor McDavid is so difficult to watch in the Eastern time zone because he is the greatest hockey player that has played in I couldn't tell you how long, and he is never on national TV at a time where people that have normal day jobs can stay and watch him because he's out in Edmonton. So that is super frustrating to me that the NHL can't make him more marketable. Excuse me. But other than that, NHL playoffs has been, in my opinion, like it. And I haven't watched a ton of action. I have watched some. I think it's been really good. The energy's been up. All the series are tight too. That's the other thing. Nobody's running away with them. So we'll start out west. Winnipeg trails Dallas 2-1. Uh, Hellebuck, the goalie for the Jets, I think threw a shutout the other night. Was absolutely lights out to get them back in the series. So that one's trending in the right direction. And then the other one in the West is Edmonton leading Vegas, the Golden Knights, 2-1 in that series. So both 2-1 there.
Yeah. First thought always is Dallas sucks. Regardless if
Yeah,
you're a
nobody really likes
Cowboy or a
Dallas.
Star or a Maverick, Dallas sucks. I was just there for work. The airport is awful. Cobwebs everywhere. It's as old as Jerry Jones from when they won a couple championships in the '90s. The place is awful. I couldn't get out of there fast enough. So, go Jets in that one. And that's my hot take on there. I know there's a lot of real high level hockey in take on that one. But yeah, the Edmonton and Golden Knights series is very good. I think those two very solid teams. Um, I think Edmonton took both in Las Vegas. Or no, they went 1-1 because they played last night, right? Oh
Yep.
yeah, at the last second, I put a couple dollars on a bet. They were down, I think 3-2. They tied it 3-3, and then uh, zero point 0.4 seconds, somebody tips it into their own goal at the end, and I think Edmonton lost last night. I don't know, with something with zero point 0.4 seconds left. But yeah, I think Draisaitl and McDavid and that whole team. I think a lot of people are rooting for the Oilers to come out of the West and challenge to win the cup. So, but yeah, I think I'm going with the Oilers in that series and the Winnipeg Jets and have an all Canadian Western Conference final.
I think that would be fun, especially those two Canadian cities that literally have nothing else going for them. Like people in America, I don't think could, like maybe 1 out of 10 people could get anywhere near where those two cities actually are in Canada and have any idea where they're located, which I think is funny. There's no reason to ever go to Winnipeg for anything. There's just nothing going on there, but they have a hockey team, which is absolutely fantastic. I love that.
And didn't
Uh,
didn't the Jets win the President's Cup? I think someone was telling me that.
the I believe so. The Capitals were right behind them, I think, but I think the Jets
Yeah.
did win it. Yes.
Okay. And
So
they've only been around for what, 5 years, 3 years? They're a relatively new expansion team.
yeah, so they re-expanded back to Winnipeg because Winnipeg used to have a team back in the day, and then they merged, and I forget where they went.
Is either the
That
Arizona
that might,
Thrasher or Arizona the Thrashers or oh no, Atlanta
yep.
Thrashers, and then it was the
Winnipeg might have
Phoenix
been the
Coyotes.
Winnipeg might have moved. I believe they moved to Colorado, if I'm not mistaken.
So they went moving to the Avalanche.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Let me see here. Oh no, that's the Quebec Nordiques. Nordikes. I guarantee I'm saying that wrong. Um, they might have just been the Jets too. Um, yeah, I'm trying to Google that as we talk here. Not worth trying. So, a couple other random thoughts. Spinning this back to Jerry Jones. This is going to be a really hot take for a really spicy take. But if I was a NFL owner or any sports owner, I would do it exactly the same way as Jerry Jones. I would be all up in everything. Like I give him so much credit for being involved because like there are so many other just nonchalant, don't even care about it owners, and I can't stand that. I love that he is so hands-on and like front and center. I love that he's in the media all the time. I love that he's answering questions. I love that he's pulling all the strings for personnel. Like it's he's doing it like outside of the way the New York Jets literally did it with Madden ratings, he's doing it as if he's playing Madden. Like that's exactly the same way that I would go about it.
Yeah, and the
So,
best part is that he's awful at it. So that's why I always say, "Long live Jerry."
like if that were me, I would 100% be doing it the same way. I love that. I love that about him. I'm not a
Man.
Dallas Cowboys fan whatsoever, and I think he's very washed and out of touch and out of tune, but I give him credit for being as involved as he is because there's like I said, there's so many owners that just don't. So, the other thing, I can't stand the Golden Knights. This is a very hot take out of nowhere. Probably never heard me go on this shtick. As a, I would consider myself a little bit above casual Red Wings fan. I watch hockey a decent amount. I'm more than casual, but not a serious diehard watcher. So, I can't stand the Golden Knights for the standpoint that they have basically always been good since they expanded into Vegas, and these fans know nothing of fanhood pain. The team's always been good, and I
Yeah,
hate that.
yeah.
Hate it. Like, you need to go miss the playoffs for 10 years in a row and figure out your fanhood and decide if you actually want to root for the team. Your team's in the playoffs every year. You don't know how to root during tough times. I hate that. Like my fanhood, being a Red Wings fan, and we haven't played in the playoffs in like a decade now, and the Golden Knights just stole everybody's players in the expansion draft, and then somehow they keep getting good players now since then in the regular draft. I can't stand the fact that they're good. Go figure out what losing is like and be at the bottom of the standings for 5 years and having to tank to try and get a generational talent, and then it doesn't play out, and you have to try it all over again. No, they haven't had to deal with any of that, and I can't stand that. So that's my little soapbox there on the Golden Knights. Go away.
Yeah, they'll get their comeuppance when the old Athletics come to town here in the next year or two.
Yeah, they're although the A's are playing decent baseball this year, so we'll see.
Maybe it's just a thing when you go to Vegas and you just turn into a winner.
Billy Bean
The
Moneyball, baby.
Vegas Aces, and apparently it's just the place to be.
So flipping to the Eastern Conference real quick, we got the Maple Leafs leading the Panthers 2-1. I think that one's kind of surprising people because I think Florida was kind of the odds-on favorite there, even though Toronto was the number one seed. Um, or was the higher seed on that side of the bracket. So interesting that people were picking Florida, I think, to begin with. I think that's got a lot to do with just the type of team that Florida is. So
Yeah,
we'll
and
see
they've
if that
been
one ends up
there.
playing out.
They've been there the last few years too. They're up 1-0 right now in the second period. If they can tie this up, I don't know. I still think Florida comes out of that series, even though they started down 0-2.
Toronto's just, they're the choke artists of the NHL. That's how it's been for way longer than you and I have been alive. So,
Yeah, maybe they're like the Knicks. Maybe them and the Knicks are the same. They'll both start up 2-0 and end up losing the series.
yep, that would be pretty funny. And then the other side of the bracket, in the East, Washington's down 2 games to 1 to the Hurricanes.
Hurricanes, go
Carolina.
Carolina, go Carolina.
Go
Yeah,
Canes, go.
the Canes choked too. I they've been in they've been in the playoffs. I think 4 years out of the five I've been living down here, and they always make it to the semifinals and then end up flopping. So It's interesting that they have a 2-1. They won 4-0 last night, and they have the 2-1 series lead. They could if they could take another one at home. I think they play at home either I think Monday night. Yeah, tomorrow night at 7 o'clock. I mean, if they take that one, kudos. They probably got the series in the bag at that point. I just think the Capitals are too good with Ovechkin and that whole team. I think they're destined to come out of the East, and give Ovechkin his swan song on the way out, especially getting the the goals record that he got this year as well. So I think the
I think
stars are
whoever
aligning for him.
I think whoever wins the Maple Leafs Panthers series comes out of the East. In my opinion, I think those are the two best teams left on the eastern side of the bracket. So we'll see how that one plays out. Um, Hockey's fun though. I've always thought that. That's why I always want the Wings, obviously just as a general fan too. But I love when the Wings are in the playoffs just because playoff hockey's so much more intense than regular season. Guys skate harder. It's so much faster. There's so much more energy. They hit harder. It's elite level hockey. It's super fun.
Yeah, yeah. I'm hoping the finals is Oilers Hurricanes,
That
but
would be fun.
yeah, that'd be kind of cool if because it's only a couple-hour drive from here to get up to Raleigh. So, and those tickets aren't cheap. I looked for how much they were last night. The cheapest one was like $400 in the nosebleeds. But if there was a Stanley Cup Finals game a couple hours away,
You're gonna pay a lot more than 400 then.
oh yeah, yeah, definitely. But I think that's like a maybe once in a lifetime thing. I'm not a huge hockey fan, but I think that would be crazy to go to a Stanley Cup final game.
Yeah, it would be absolutely wild. Like trying to think of whenever the next time the Wings play in the Stanley Cup Finals. Tickets are gonna be steep.
Yep.
So, all right, we'll pivot over to hoops again. We'll do a quicker breakdown on what we did the last couple shows. We'll kind of rifle through it because there hasn't been a ton of change. We're still in the middle of the second round here, just like we are in hockey. So we'll start out west again. Thunder and Nuggets are tied up 2-2 after today's game. That was earlier today, right? Sunday?
Yep. Yep. That was earlier today. It was a snooze fest. I watched the first quarter, the first two quarters. I think the Nuggets they had 8 points. It was 17-8 in the first quarter, tied for the lowest scoring quarter ever in the history of the NBA playoffs. The Nuggets couldn't hit anything. Somehow the game was close at the end. The Thunder took it 92-87, so they picked it up from there. But I was a little nervous. I know we talked about some of our takes not being as accurate as they have been. I think we definitely all took the Thunder. We all took the Wolves, and they started down 0-2 or something or close to that both series. So I was a little nervous. But now it's 2-2, and what's the
Minnesota
Wolves?
leads the other one 2-1 now.
Yeah, so that's it started out a little iffy, and then the other Knicks series too that we'll hit on. But I think the Thunder end up coming in. That this may go to 7, may go to 6, but I still think the Thunder are too dominant.
Yeah, I think Jokic is just going to have to go bananas in order to keep the Nuggets in it. Although Aaron Gordon has been sneakishly good during the playoff run for them. So
Yeah, I don't
we'll
know where
see.
Murray's been. Murray has been invisible, and he's in a contract year, I think. So I don't know
He's
what
had
his
one good game. I think he had
yeah
27 a couple games ago.
yeah I don't know
Game
what
three.
I don't know what his deal is. He's been invisible.
Yeah, he strikes me as like he's very hot and cold in general. I
Yeah,
don't
he
know.
had he had 17 today. He was 5 of 15 shooting. Um, but that Christian Brown guy had 17 points. So
Somebody's going to pay Murray like beta money to be their number two guy on their roster, and he's just not going to be that over the long haul. I don't see that panning out.
yeah, and I think too the Nuggets outside of having Westbrook come off the bench, the Oklahoma City is just deep from their starting five, and they can go five deep on their bench. It's crazy. Like all their bench players have 10 points, 11 points, 11 points, 8 points, 9 points. They come out their bench is solid too. Like you got Caruso coming off the bench, Aaron Wiggins coming off the bench, Jalen Williams coming off the bench, and they don't miss a beat. So I just Oklahoma City's too young, too up and coming, too deep, and there's no way that they're going to lose this series.
Yeah, I would agree. I would agree.
Denver needed to win that game today, and they didn't. So
Like we said, T Wolves lead the Warriors 2-1. This one I think is going to go downhill really quick for the Dubs with Steph being out. I don't think there is still a timetable as to when he's going to come back. I don't think anybody's heard anything more.
yeah, they were saying yesterday or the day before that based on the timing, how long it normally takes to recover, and then the days in between games, that the earliest he'd be back is Game 6.
I think it's going to be over. Maybe the Dubs get one more. Game 4 is at home. If they don't win that one, it's done.
Oh yeah, they're cooked. Just like the Nuggets, they needed to win that one today.
Yep.
They needed to go up 3-1 and get that cushion, and it didn't happen. So the Warriors really needed to win that game before Steph went down. They needed to take advantage too when Ant went down for a hot second with his ankle, and I was like, oh no. I ended up going and putting money on the Warriors at that point. Lost it, obviously, like I normally do, because Ant came back and was dominant. But yeah, I think the T Wolves come out of this one like we had predicted for a while. I'm not too worried about it.
The other thing, yeah, they didn't take advantage of Jimmy going absolutely berserk. He had 33 in game 3. And I don't know how many more times he's going to be able to put a game like that together. But Kuminga had a massive game too. He had 30 out of nowhere. Give him a ton of credit. But I guess looking at the stat line, it was Kuminga, and is he gonna go 11 of 18 again? I doubt it. He's just not really that great of a player. He's coming off the bench even with Steph hurt, so I don't envision that happening again. And at that point, you can kind of just let Jimmy go bananas, and as long as nobody else gets going, they don't have enough beyond that. Like all these other names, you're just not like Draymond had a deuce.
Yeah,
Like it's just
Draymond is
he's
just
washed.
there. He's still solid at defense in some regards. He's more there. I think we talked about it before, to bring the attitude, and I think it got
He's a
out of
disruptor.
yes, I think it got out of hand again. I think he got teed up and kind of went off the handle. I think if he gets 2 more, he's suspended again. I think that happened a few years back when they were in the Cavaliers series when LeBron was playing for the Cavs and he got suspended. And then I think he was out game 3, and that was the biggest one. The Cavs took it and ended up taking that series. So they're saying, man, he just needs to, yeah, he can't get 2 more techs or he's going to be done. And
No, he ended up fouling out too. So I think game 4 is must win for the Dubs to keep this one alive. If it's 3-1 heading back to Minnesota, I just don't see that one even making it back to Golden State. I think it's done in 5.
yeah,
So
at that point, I don't even think Steph comes back.
no, not worth it. Play the long game. So pivoting over to the East, Indiana is still up 2-1 on the series. They've played really well thus far. This game 4 is going on currently as we chat. Let's see.
Yeah, the
Refresh my
Pacers
page
are
here.
up 56-32. So it looks like the Pacers are on pace, pun intended, to hit that, to go up 3-1. And I think you and I and our special guest, the Snack King, all called the Pacers. So that one's looking good for the old podcast right there.
They play such a good style of team ball, and it's very unselfish. Everybody's bought in. Carlisle's got the mix right, and we know about a good mix. So, um, interesting that the Cavs are getting absolutely housed because this is the first game they've been completely healthy in the series. Garland's back, and they are just getting absolutely mopped to start this game. So, very interesting. I If that one goes 3-1, again, that's 3-1. Maybe that one goes 6. I could see the Cavs winning game 5 then and pushing it back to 6, and then Indianapolis is rocking for game 6 to close out that one. That's kind
Yeah.
of
Garland's
what
plus minus right now is -20.
woof.
Donovan Mitchell -20, Evan Mobley -21. So not looking good for them right now, as there's a little under 5 minutes to play in the second quarter. So we'll keep everybody updated throughout there. But looks like Pacers are going to go up 3-1.
Then the other one in the East, this one's a surprise, especially compared to how we picked it on the pod. Knicks lead the Celtics 2-1 with Game 4 tomorrow at 7:30. So Knicks stole the first two, literally stole the first two games from the Celtics. The
Yeah,
only
they
thing
were
I'd
down by
say
20.
there,
They were down by 20 in each game.
yep,
Ay, ay,
they were
ay.
down by 20 at one point in Game 3 too, but that one ended up staying with the C's winning that one. What it wasn't a 20 point. I don't think it was 20. I think it was like 18 or something like that. Celtics ended up cruising pretty well, I think, in Game 3. But the closing numbers for the Celtics in those first two games, they shot about as terribly from three as you could possibly shoot, and they just kept shooting in both games and didn't stop. I've never seen anything like it.
Yeah, I think the stat was for through the first two games, they were like 12 or 13 of 70.
Yeah, just outrageously bad 3-point shooting numbers, and they just kept shooting.
Yeah, and game three, they were up by, to your point, 17, 18, 19 points, and they just kept jacking threes. I'm like, good for you. I mean, if you're going to ride with it, you got to die with it. And they died the first two games, and they rode on game three. So I don't know. I just think the seas are too deep. The Knicks are. I was hoping they were going to choke against the Pistons. They didn't. I don't know. I don't think there's any way the Celtics let this go. They're too stacked and too much going for him. I think Tatum is going to step his game up and start getting the cobwebs out and figuring out how to play basketball again and just dominate these next few games.
Yeah, I think eventually they're just going to keep shooting better, and shots are just going to drop in there. Just when you compare the two shooting teams head to head, if they're both playing their best, the C's are a better team. The
Well,
one thing I would say, no, go ahead.
yeah, you got to tip your cap to Brunson though. That guy's a beast. He's a
Oh, for
baller,
sure.
man. Without him, oh, they would just they'd get rocked.
I don't
He is just a next level player, man. I don't know, can't say enough about him. Kudos to him though.
I don't like watching him play, but in today's NBA, his game is effective.
Definitely,
So,
yeah. He knows what he's doing.
yep. The thing I'll say that's kind of a follow up to this the Knicks not playing very many guys. The Celtics aren't a beat you up team, like in the same way that the Pistons are. Like the Celtics are running 3-point line to 3-point line, and so that actually plays and I think has contributed to the Knicks staying in some of these games. If the Celtics were more physical and the deeper they are, that would play into more into the Knicks getting banged up and not being able to hang and like showing some wear and tear, especially coming out of the Detroit series. But the Celtics play a way softer game than the Pistons do. Like head to head in a series, I think from a physicality standpoint, it's not even close. You'd rather play the Celtics than the Pistons. I don't think that's even debatable.
Yeah, I would say the most physical player they had, and he's a little older, little long in the tooth now, is Horford.
Yep.
Horford's pretty physical. Porzingis isn't. I mean, I can't talk trash about Porzingis. Him and I are the same. We're both tall, lanky guys that don't want to play defense, rebound, or go past the 3-point line on either side. So, um, yeah, he's not gonna do like what half the Pistons were gonna. Where it's gonna be a brawl every single time you try to get inside the 3-point line, inside the paint. But yeah, I just think the C's are just gonna dominate the rest of these games.
Yeah, I think the shots drop, and when the shots drop, they're going to start running away with it because the Knicks can't keep up from a shot making perspective.
No.
So that's NBA Finals recap or NBA playoff recap. And then last on the docket here, I think this will be the last thing, unless there's been anything else that's come to mind for you. But this is my own personal shtick, being a diehard Michigan football fan. So Monday or Tuesday, news came out that Michigan was going to self-impose a 2-game suspension for head coach Sharon Moore for the football team because my understanding is they're trying to appease the NCAA into not handing down further or stronger suspensions for things related to the sign stealing scandal and everything still going on with that, which I thought was already long since done. So, first of all, I'm annoyed that this is still coming to light because I thought this was all handled with suspensions from last year, but maybe I'm just misremembering or something along those lines. The other thing I'm incredibly annoyed about is Michigan is the only team that seems to give two craps about what the NCAA thinks and might do, because everybody else and their brother is doing the exact same things that Michigan did, and they're probably still doing them in regards to sign stealing or trying to sign steal or things along those lines. Other NCAA violations. The NCAA barely exists. It's barely a thing now after NIL. Like there is basically no reason for the NCAA to exist because it's just a wild, wild west with NIL. So I I'm incredibly annoyed that they feel like the NCAA has any semblance of power over them because like the CFP isn't NCAA related. That's its own entity. It's its own thing. You're not when you win college football playoff, you're not winning the NCAA title. You're winning the college football playoff, which is trademarked. It's its own brand. It's its own thing. So this whole giving credence to the NCAA is just asinine in my opinion, and I can't stand it as a Michigan football fan. Just your brand is bigger than them, you're better than them. There's other teams that are doing the exact same thing. I don't know why they continue to allow the NCAA to bully them and just put them into a locker. Tell the NCAA where to stick it. They're going away, they're getting smaller. Nobody cares about the NCAA one bit. Just keep doing what you're doing. And that's beating Ohio State. Put them into oblivion. Just this whole suspension thing is just completely ridiculous. And you can tell it's ridiculous too because they didn't just suspend him for the first two games of the season. They picked games 3 and 4, which also just looks stupid. So they picked Central Michigan and they picked Nebraska, which shots fired at Nebraska because they're suspending him for that game and they think they can still win it with or without him, apparently. So shots fired there. And then I guess the reason that Michigan not completely publicly came out and said that they didn't suspend him for the first two games was because they play Oklahoma week 2, and they wanted it to be two consecutive games. And Oklahoma is Sharon's alma mater, and so he wants to be present for that game. Just I'm at a loss. That's my diatribe. I've kind of spun myself out here. I can't understand why they continue to give this stuff credence and just continue to carry the NCAA's water for them. It's just ridiculous, and I can't stand it.
Yeah, I would agree with you there. Couple thoughts. NCAA, I think, is more nowadays existing to help police all the other sports in college. So the hockeys, the lacrosses, the soccers, the baseball, the softball. Um, I think all of those titles are still NCAA titles. So
Basketball's still the big one with the NCAA
yeah,
tournament.
yeah. So that I would agree with you. I think the NCAA just exists for the rest of those. Um, and the other thought is, I don't think I can ever remember of a time when a school has got caught doing something right, wrong, or indifferent, and they decided to self-impose a sanction, and the NCAA actually care about that and not come in after the fact and even increase the sanctions. So it's like, all right, you're going to do this. The NCAA doesn't care, or they haven't shown that they've cared in the past that you do it. So you're just doing it for the semantics and the look. And they're only going to come back and be like, all right, well, it's going to be 4 games now or 3 games. You know they're going to add to it. It's not just going to stick at 2 and be fine. They're going to have to come in and do something else, or it's just not going to give them a good look that they want.
No, they had to do the same thing. They did the same thing with Harbaugh. They self-imposed sanctions, and then the NCAA came in with more above and beyond later in the season. So this whole thing of we're going to try to get out in front of it, call their bluff. Like, leave them be. By the time they actually get their stuff sorted out, the NCAA might not exist in football at all.
Yeah.
I
And you're
have no words.
you're right. It does take them 2, 3 years, 4 years sometimes to even pass down some of these rulings and some of these sanctions. So who knows? Who knows what kind of pull they're going to have in 2028?
I can't wrap my head around it. Um, it's so annoying that this stuff just keeps coming up because everybody else, it's anybody that's saying that their schools are completely innocent. is completely wrong. If they have any semblance of a budget, they're trying to do this exact same stuff. Watch the documentaries that are out there. Everybody's trading film or trying to, or got a dude that's off the payroll but on the payroll. Like everybody's trying to get an edge. So to think that Michigan is the only one that's doing anything like this is just ridiculous. So that's my diatribe there on college football. They're going to win both games anyway. Not going to be that big of a deal in the grand scheme of things,
You're
but
not
they're
worried
just
about Matt Rule?
no. I think Nebraska is a hot mess. Rayola, I think, is an interesting quarterback. I think he's going to be fun. I think he's going to be exciting. He might end up actually being a really good NFL quarterback.
Yeah.
But Michigan's going to have an elite defense this year again. So I think they're going to put him 6 feet under and just get ready.
Sounds
So
good.
football can't get here soon enough. Other quick news bulletins: NFL schedule drops this week. So I'm sure you'll be plugged in with that with the
Yeah,
Eagles.
Eagles get the kickoff. So who do we have? I know Amon Ra and the Lions want a piece of the Eagles in the opening one. I heard there's rumors of the Commanders because the whole rivalry and the NFC Championship game. I've heard the Rams. So I don't know. Eagles Lions opening Thursday kickoff will be pretty sick. Just because of all the Lions fans and it's in Philly. I kind of want to go to that game. I'm sure tickets wouldn't be cheap for the opening night kickoff, but
No, that would be ring ceremony too, wouldn't it?
yeah, yep, might be worth ponying up the cash. So we'll see. I might be going to Philly here in early September.
That would be pretty
Maybe we'll do
sweet.
a podcast live from the link.
Live from Philly.
Yeah.
Um, and then I had something else, but now it left me, so we might not get to it.
Yeah, one
You
more
got anything
quick
else on?
update while you're thinking. Pacers are up 78-37 at 26 seconds left in the second quarter. So that one is you can probably put that one to sleep, kiss that one goodbye. The Panthers right now are still up 1-0 at the end of the second period, so a quick update on that. And I know we didn't talk much baseball today, but the Phillies are beating the Guardians 3-0, bottom of the eighth. Go Phils.
There was a point Friday evening heading into Saturday where the Tigers were the best team in baseball, so I just want to call that out. Go Tigers, go.
Go
We
Tigers.
love that. They dropped two of the last three in that series with the Rangers, which is unfortunate, but still playing really, really good ball, about as good a ball as you can play. So that's super fun. We'll see how everything holds up. They need to get a couple guys back here. They're showing a little bit of wear and tear, so they need got a couple guys that are rehabbing and close to coming back here in the next week or so. That'll provide some more juice for them. So keeps the good vibes flowing. Um, Other than that, I don't know that I had a ton of other news and notes. So
Sounds
I
good.
think that kind of puts a bow on episode 6. Another one in the books.
Another one of the books. And as always, Red, we're 6 for 6 now, where we have not spilled the mixie. Again, happy Mother's Day to all the mothers out there. Appreciate you listening, and if you want to give it a share and show some appreciation, and again, we'll put out some socials for you, and just cheers to episode 6, and looking forward to catching back up again next week.
Cheers.
Cheers.
Thanks, everybody.